The voice memo is an important step. The final product is an absolute important step. But the demo process is the thing that could give you the edge and the advantage that so many of you have been looking for. And you've been probably bashing your head against the wall. Why are they not taking songs? Why are they not? Why is nothing happening? Why am I wasting all this money in the studio? It's because we're skipping over this. Hey, it's Mike Meiers from the Songwriting for Guitar podcast. Before we jump into this episode, if you're a songwriter, guitarist, and you're looking to advance your skills, gain confidence, and monetize your craft, be sure to check out songwritingforguitar.com for all our free resources. So let's jump into this week's episode. Hey, what's up, friends? Mike Meiers here with the Songwriting for Guitar podcast, episode 120, Why the Demo Process Matters, Do's and Don'ts. The demo process is something that we skip over, but it literally is the first impression that you're going to make when it comes to showcasing your song, showcasing the idea of your song. Now, when we think of songwriting, I think our brains go to two realms. We either think of voice memo. And a voice memo is super important. It is a great way to get a rough idea of a song, meaning like, I think I've got these bits and pieces. I think I have this chorus, I have this verse, maybe this is a pre-chorus, Or we go to the other end, which is the final product, where we went to, you paid for a studio, producer, an engineer, all of that to get this final product. But there's a crucial step in the middle that we skip over. And it's the demo process. And to me, this is the filter of whether the song holds up, is structurally sound, that we have some rough arrangement that we're agreeing on. If we skip over that process, we're going to waste a lot of money in the studio, possibly producing a dud. Something that just wasn't meant to be produced out. Not because the song didn't have potential, but we didn't give it the time to develop and refine a lot of those things. It's hard to refine on a voice memo. The voice memo is just to get the idea out of you. The demo process is where you really get to mold and shape it. And regardless of what stage you're at in your writing and your intention, whether it be like you just want to release your own album, you want to go after licensing, or you want to pursue a publishing deal, the demo stage matters in all three of those things. If you abide by these laws, if you are able to follow them, you'll be much happier with the results you get in the process. And I'm thinking of this too, because this weekend I just did a songwriting retreat with my friend, mentor, Judy Stakey. We hosted 6 songwriters that came down to Nashville. We had them write for 2 days, and then we had them pick a song and we had them demo it in the studio. So they had to not only play through the sections, they had to choose the BPM, the key. We started to talk about some vocal arrangements, some possible instrumental arrangements of what it's going to be. But I could tell this was a very eye-opening process where they were like, oh, they discovered more and more of the song. Even though the song was pretty brand new, we were able to really shape a lot of it. So the demo, we have to remember, is just, again, not just the voice memo. It is the blueprint for everything that we're going to do, for the collaboration process, the pitching process. It really allows us to refine and move bits and pieces around. I feel this is where the song is very malleable. We could, be like, that section's cool, but it might serve better as a turnaround. Or, now that we hear it, the intro is way too long. We've got to cut that in half. Or, that bridge is pretty cool. I think we need to expand upon it. So this is a great metric for you to start utilizing. And when I saw a lot of those songwriters this weekend just going through the demo process, I can see at this point, they can never do it the other way. They'll have to do a demo now. They understand the importance of why it matters because they understood the song so much. And more importantly, it gave them a process to write the next one. And I guarantee their next song and even just their next voice memo is going to be 10 times better. And their next demo is going to be 10 times better because they've just gone through that experience. So how do we go about the demo process? So number one, of course, yes, we have to have a song. And we have to have a good structure of the song, meaning we have to have that verse, that chorus, and you have to have a BPM. You have to start practicing with a metronome. I talk about a metronome consistently all the time. One of the retreaters this weekend too was like, oh, I can understand why you constantly say you got to play to a metronome, because they had to record the instrument first. We had them do it separate. They weren't just recording vocals, guitar, piano, everything at once. They were all doing them individually. So number one, you have to know the song. The demo process is really the metric of, do you know how your song goes from start to finish? Can you play it to this metronome? And if you don't, that's a red flag. That's like, cool, I need to know more. Are we having, how many measures are the intro? Do we have an intro, or does it go straight into the verse? Are we going to have a pause between pre and chorus, or is there a down chorus? All these little nuances that require no other instrumentation than just one instrument. But the question is, how well do you know the song? And to me, this is, again, we just either do or we don't. There's no in between. And there's no shame, but if you don't know it, you can't play to the metronome. We got to spend some more time with it. But it just highlights an area you've got to work on. The other thing is, does the key work? Is it suitable? Because before we do the demo, we'll sing through with a metronome, whether it's the artist, the top liner, they're singing along. And we're asking ourselves, okay, how does this feel? Could you do this? Or does this feel like you're hitting the ceiling pretty close and there's no room, there's no leverage, you've got nothing? Because if that's the case, then let's try to half step down. You try to half step down, you find out like, this works out really well. Or, ooh, you know what? It's kind of low in the verses, but it's high in the chord. Okay, then that's a melodic thing we've got to work on before we go and demo. So it highlights problems with the melody that even if you spent, thousands of dollars in a studio to get produced, you're going to run into some of those same problems, and the best production is not going to help you because a weak point is the melody. So a lot of the demo is just, again, we're poking and prodding. Is this structurally sound, your song, or is there a lot of problematic areas? So we're talking about BPM key. And then what's great is whoever's playing the guitar or piano goes in, they track to the metronome, and we're making sure to do it a couple of times. Then we're piecing together too the best little bits. If we got a good verse and chorus, but then suddenly, oh no, we messed, we kind of forgot what the part was transitioning in. You can punch yourself in right there, meaning it just takes you to that point where you were playing and then you started to fall off, that you can just jump in and then play to it, because you're playing to a metronome, which is wonderful. If you're not playing to a metronome, you can't really do these things. You have to go back to the beginning and play the whole thing, where that's what I think the voice memo is. The voice memo allows you to you just got to play through the whole thing. Don't worry about it. But the metronome allows you to jump in at certain points. And then we have the vocalists go in and we have them sing the part. And we'll do a couple of takes where we just go through, hey, sing it again. That was awesome. Especially, again, I think about this weekend when the vocalist would go in and start singing the verse for the first time. It felt new to them. Even though they had been writing the song, it was a different experience. They had their headphones on. They were hearing themselves and they were singing it and being like, oh, that's what it sounds like. Okay. It was no longer coming through just like various like phones, but they were hearing it through headphones. They were hearing it through speakers and being like, oh, that's what it was like. It was almost brand new. And they were like, I like that. Or maybe they kind of went, you know what? I think I'm going to make a change here. And so we would go just section by section and have them sing a little bit. And it was the same deal. We've kind of found the best little bits. Then together we collectively just listen to the instrument, the main vocal, to the metronome. And we ask ourselves, how does this feel? Does this feel good? Does it feel like it's dragging a little bit? Do we need to, maybe change a little bit of the melody? So it allowed us to really sit back and just listen to the song and be like, okay, here's the framework of what we got. How are we feeling? And we were feeling pretty good. That's where we talked about some vocal arrangement. Where do we want to be intentional with harmonies? What do we want? What are those harmonies going to sound like? And it really pushed some of the top liners because they were like, woof, forcing them on the spot to come up with different harmonies, lower thirds, higher thirds. There was one song where it was, fantastic. We did these low octaves that really filled it out. The song was starting to come to life even more, even just through these small bits in the demo. We didn't have a lot of instrumentation. And that's sometimes the problem when it comes to this side of demo. People think, oh, they do maybe a vocal, but then they start layering a million instruments all over the place. And what happens is it then just gets crowded and it gets too busy. And everything's fighting for attention because the guitar is doing this, piano is doing this. And then we have another guitar that comes in. And then we have a lead vocal and we have another vocal. It's not intentional. It seems very haphazard. Everything's thrown. So when you're starting to do these demos, I love this minimalist approach because even at very small elements, it should feel good. It should start to feel like the song is showing what it's going to be like, how it's going to go. Even if you have a reference, it starts to feel like, oh, this is no longer just a voice memo, an idea. This is now developing into a really great song because great songs are intentional. They're planned. There's a process. It doesn't magically just happen like there are people in a room and they hit record and everybody's like, it's a party. This was great. And it just shows. No, it's work. It's very clear process, very clear intention, and it's methodically going section by section by section and prodding it. When I hear somebody say, I've got 50 songs, they're all ready to go and they're amazing. They probably aren't. There might be a gem or two in there that needs developed. But if you're saying, I've got 60 songs ready to go and they're all great, they probably aren't. And I mean that with love because there's no process, there's no system. You're not doing this methodically to ensure that when you go and take the time to spend money in a studio, because recording can be expensive. If you're not recording well too at home, if you don't have a quality studio and the skills to back up the gear that you have. Little side note. If you're spending at a studio, you're going to spend a chunk of money. You want to make sure that investment is sound. No pun intended, but the way you know it's sound is you do this process. So we really go for a minimalist approach when it comes to arrangement because we're looking at the chord, we're looking at the melodic structure, the arrangement vocally, because that's what people are going to do. So we have to remember overproduction does not help in the beginning stages of the demo, but actually pulling it back. This is a great opportunity too to listen to the vocal phrasing and articulations, notes, delivery, and play with it because it's so fresh. You're not allowing things to become so ingrained and finite that when you go into the studio, it's hard to break those habits. So asking yourself, well, how do I want that melody to land and how will the phrasing land? Because that might affect how I arrange the harmony. It is very much a fine-tooth comb. So if we're ignoring the vocal quality, not just sonic quality, but like how we're delivering it, the phrasings, that we need to pay attention to that. And far too often we think scratch vocal as demo. This is where you can spend a little bit more time on the refinement side. So just don't necessarily just skip over it. The other thing to watch are transition points. And what I mean transition points, that's your pre-chorus, turnaround from chorus into second verse, bridge into final chorus. Basically all these little bridges or transitions that go from large sections, verses into choruses, choruses into bridges. If you allow for sloppiness or laziness and kind of go, we don't know what that is right now, we don't need to know. No, you do need to know. To me, like you're starting to construct a bridge and then suddenly it cuts off. It's bridge to nowhere. You're just like, we'll figure that out later. But no, you need to figure that out now. And so that's where you have to spend time going back through. Okay, pause. We need to figure this out. We can't just go into production with this. We don't know what our bridge is going to be. We don't know what how long the transition from pre into chorus is going to be. We're not sure how long we want the intro to be. How long the outro going to be? We need to know those things. And so this is no time to allow for sloppiness, to just kind of lean in. We kind of have to resist that urge and spend time. And I think it's because those aren't the fun things in writing. Because when we get a chorus and verse, we're like, oh, this is so good. This is like the best part. But then suddenly it's like, hey, cool. What's the turnaround? It's not as fun. But great songs are very intentional about how they're segueing from section to section. And the more you do this now, the more it becomes just part of the process. All these things that we're talking about in the demo process, you'll even start to filter through in the writing process, in the concept and the creation at the very start, so that when you get to the demo process, it gets smoother and smoother. Because these are all frameworks. And at first, if it's not part of the process, it will seem forced at first. It will seem weird. It was interesting this weekend too. Like I had a bunch of songwriters that were like, wow, I never do this. And it's weird at first. It's awkward, but they were all just like, oh, this is so helpful to think about the arrangements. I would be like, what's the transition? How many measures are we coming in? Because if we're not sure, the instrumentalist who's going to be tracking at the beginning won't know. And if they don't know, and the singer doesn't know, well, how do we know where to come in? So making sure everyone's on the same page. I was so proud of those writers this weekend because they were all on the same page of the structure. I'm always amazed when a songwriter, you go into a write and you ask them like, hey, can you play me the song? And I guarantee if you all took them out of the room and had them each play, you would get something different because everybody wasn't on the same page. So clarity is important in this demo process. Expensive gear is not going to get you great results. Yes, this weekend we were in a studio. It was a great studio, very nice mic, but we just had 2 mics. We didn't have crazy amounts of gear. People lean too heavily on great gear because it's an easy thing to they can buy it and they can hold it. You can't always hold the transition. You can't hold a great performance or a great song. It's easy to just buy the gear. So regardless of what your setup is, if you have just a simple interface and a Shure SM57 mic, super simple, that's wonderful because you probably got a metronome in your DAW. You're able to set up a metronome and play. You understand whether this transition is going to happen or not. Or if you got a bridge. So to me, great gear means nothing. You can have a very simplistic setup and still get great results because if you've got an awesome song and a simple setup, but you're clear on the structure, you get very specific on the melodic arrangement and the chord arrangement dynamics. We start to focus on harmonies. We start to think about vocal arrangement. And if you can sketch that all out, you will be in a far better position with someone that has the best gear, that pays thousands of dollars to go to a studio, that skips over this process, has very little idea of what the transitions will be. And the dollar amount just keeps racking up more times in the studio because you're wasting time trying to figure out what it should be. That's what your demo process is. It helps you discover and develop the song to what it should be so that you can just do a better version in the studio, or you can still do it from home with quality results. But when you do it again, you're going to have a much better idea purely because you took the time. And that was the thing that was great about this weekend. I saw so many songwriters just carve out the time to write a song, write another one, sit there and honestly go like, okay, which one is stronger right now based on what we have? Okay, I think it's this one. And then spend even more time as a group refining it, getting specific, and then heading into the studio to record, because I was so proud to see them just put it all together and that they walked away with these word tapes, these demos that were super solid, even more solid than people that have brought me songs before and said they, spent thousands of dollars in a studio, yet the structure was just not there. There was no clarity. There was not a lot of time on vocal arrangement. The melodies weren't good. The chord changes were not thought of. Transition points weren't even thought of. Like, there were so many things, and they wasted so much money. And there's very little advice I can give in that instance of where that song should go, because it, in all due respect, needs to go in the trash and you need to start again. And that's tough. That's tough for a songwriter here. But that's why I love the demo process. There's a step before that step that you're spending lots of money. It's the step of just spending time and refining, being honest too of what sections are good, what needs refined, what needs fixed. And to me, this is something all songwriters can do, because this is what all pro songwriters do. They spend time on the demo process. They spend time refining those melodies. They are going with a fine-tooth comb. And everybody has that desire to do it at a higher level. And the higher level means you don't have to have expensive gear. The higher level just means that you're willing to implement all of these things and hold yourself accountable to these things and be willing to make the changes when you know you need to. That you're willing to be honest and not lie. Whether that means you have to go write another song. Like, there's so much confusion that you're like, you know what? As we're doing this, I can tell, like, we're not even sure. We need to go back to the drawing table. We need to go back, get a couple more voice memos, maybe do 2 more songs. Then we'll choose the best one. Because you know what? You'll probably get something better. You'll come back to the demo process and you'll do exactly that. You'll play to a metronome. The dynamics are better. The guitarist or pianist is able to play start to finish to the metronome dynamically too. Because if you can do that and you got a solid vocal, you know that's a pretty darn good song. And if you're refining it, whoo, that's how you get amazing, amazing songs. So this week, remember, the voice memo is an important step. The final product is an absolute important step. But the demo process is the thing that could give you the edge and the advantage that so many of you have been looking for, yet you've been skipping over. And you've been probably bashing your head against the wall. Why are they not taking songs? Why are they not? Why is nothing happening? Why am I wasting all this money in the studio? It's because we're skipping over this. Now, that might mean you may need to learn a few new tools. You might have to go and figure out how to maneuver within Logic. You might have to get an interface and a mic. And here's the thing. If you're like, man, this is tough to do on my own, that's why at Songwriting for Guitar, we have coaching. And right now, below this podcast description, so if you're watching this on YouTube, it's below. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, it's below in the description. If you're not sure what coach is right for you, whether you need a songwriting coach to help you on lyrical development, melodic development, or what we're talking about right now, DAW development, you have some songwriting chops, but you realize technically, you're not technically savvy, tech savvy, as they say. I should actually say tech savvy. But you need that guidance so you can start demoing so that you are not wasting money in the studio. Just click the link below for coaching. You're going to fill out a tiny form. Then you're going to get on a foundations call with me. I'm going to hear your story and I'm going to point you to the right coach that matches what you're trying to do. So all you got to do. So if you're watching YouTube, just, go down below in the description, click that link to book a call with me. Or if you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, just scroll down the description, and then boom, click that link to book a call. So that does it for this week's episode, my friends. I hope this was helpful. I'm Mike Meiers. Thanks for listening. Hey, it's Mike from Songwriting for Guitar. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And hey, don't leave. We got other cool videos you should check out too. Like some of these right here. Oh, that one right there. That's really good. You should click that. Right there. Just click it.